Did you do that? Did anybody else do that? Okay, yeah. Sometimes after like an Easter weekend or Christmas or something, I'll wake up and it's all playing in my head. I've been practicing all night subconsciously. Since that's true.
I've never done that. I just
really?
Yeah.
Man, yeah, I can hear it all. And do you guys play with tracks too, like any loops or anything? Some people do, not yet. You're getting there. Okay, so if you don't play with a metronome with your band, maybe your drummer is using one, maybe not, but you definitely should. I would encourage you to practice with one. If you're not sure what the tempo is, then there's plenty of apps that you can tap it. Like you can listen to the song and just tap the tempo, or you can text your drummer and ask him, and he should definitely know what the tempo is. Our charts say it, like at the top, we like putting it on our charts. If it's kind of a common, we always do it this way or whatever. Okay, so that's that, yes.
The tempo is 75 and 4/4 time. The C, B under it, is that two different key options?
That's for chorus and bridge. So this section right here is a map. It's kind of a map of how we would typically move through the song. So this is intro, verse 1, chorus, and the little C just means a down chorus, just a small chorus. Verse 2, chorus, bridge, chorus, chorus, bridge. And this, I mean, I wouldn't even say that probably most of our weekend musicians don't really use this at all. I mean, we definitely don't on platform, but even just in preparation, like we have the songs built up in a repertoire and they just sit in my brain. But if you're not up always, and
all the newbies
would definitely be referencing this. So that's just a little key, like a mapping key for us to know. And then that's the 75 and 4/4.
Could I ask
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all have the flexibility, like whoever's leading the song to loop a chorus or whatever, and override the chart?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. The chart is really just, it's just a if we're on a track, sometimes we don't normally adjust the map until maybe the end of the song, or maybe the worship leader knows going into it, they just want to have the flexibility to flow, and then we just ditch the tracks. You just have to kind of decide. I think we're really in a process of trying to figure that out for us, of where the balance is in flexibility, spontaneity, tracks, and like where that lives. So if you have any ideas, let us know.
Well, and the chart says start full band and end on the 5, but we might not start full band. We might want to actually start it down and never get it in. So it might be an intimate time in the set where we actually, so the chart then at that point is irrelevant.
So you're kind of like our worship leader, she's going to do what she wants to do.
Well, I mean, you got to have freedom to follow the Spirit,
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
we might not end on the 5 if we're going to come out of grace and want to go into something else. We might end on the 4 or the 1 to go into something. So this is a reference until it gets changed.
Or if the song has been recorded, it might be just a reference of how it was recorded, for us to know. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you make it little in playing center? How do you make it a little B or a little C?
We do that in Word when we make the chart, and then we bounce them out as PDFs after we're done.
Okay.
So we actually physically, and if it's a half chorus, this one doesn't have it, what we'll do is, if we're only gonna do a half verse or half chorus, we'll actually put a diagonal line through the chorus or verse.
Okay.
That means it's only a half chorus.
Okay.
And it could be a capital C still, because it's a big half chorus, or a down half chorus.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another symbol that's not in there, and we do all that in Word, and then when we bounce it to PDF, then it just, everybody
They have
So
it
you're just
template.
putting the PDFs in playing center, you're not
Yes.
using their chord charts?
No.
Okay,
We
okay,
make our own, and then we post them with our resources.
okay.
Anything else on that? Okay. So I just take the song in sections and dynamics. So the song is gonna start like this. If we start it big and the electric's gonna play that line, we're gonna play it together. And then the first verse, I normally play kind of up high, just sparse. Just not much. I'm realizing too, our parentheses are wrong on that. There's probably a lot of incorrect charts, but. So I just play not that much, right? And the acoustic is kind of driving it through this. So it kind of depends on what else is going on too, how I decide what to play. And then I'm going to come down a little bit and add more rhythm, and I'm kind of following the melody.
that's his job. So we have the ability with our
Or it
guys,
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, at least with our sound system, they have a way of making them both work. But I've played in smaller churches where the piano player's hammering low end, and the sound guy's yelling at the bass guy to turn down, and he's like, dude, I'm not even playing anymore.
Right.
It's all the piano player. You know,
Well, and
so
it
you-
depends too on keys, and we can speak to that side of it too. On keys, you don't want to be too low because you really are getting in the way of the bass player.
Yeah.
So there's an area to stay in. Like I would typically say like mid-range. There's probably 2 octaves or so that you should probably be living in as a if you're playing pads. You know, if that low rumble is what your job is, which it's an important job. It can be boring, but it's actually a really important job to help us facilitate and move through worship. Especially in those down moments or in between songs. So,
Sometimes they have us in pad, complement the bass, is to help bring it out, because as long as playing somebody else.
Right. You can definitely still be playing the bass note, you know, in the chord or whatever, just that low rumble. And some, okay, this is just a CB300 sound, but we can plug in later too if we want to use. But so if I were playing keys, I would just be probably staying right here for the chorus and not really moving my hand around much. Same deal with the inversions, just like not really moving much and just.
So for me, when I'm playing keys on this song, she's on piano, I'm playing pads, but I also have an arp going at the same time. So I've got a blah, 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 blah. So I've got a rhythm arp going and shimmer pads going while she's on piano and guitar. So I make sure to try to stay out of her way, the guitar player's way, the bass player's way. So I gotta stay out of a lot of ways, you know? Sometimes I go higher just because I need to. Because everybody's living in the same 2 octaves, I've gotta figure out a way to fit. But the thing that helps me is I add rhythm elements to my pads, that helps me pop through the mix. Because I can add arpeggiation to it, so.
Which you can add a tempo to an arpeggiator in main stage, which is what he's playing it through, and we can totally discuss all of that too, because there's probably some questions about what we're using. But you add a tempo to it, and so it sets it to it. But now you have to be pretty accurate in triggering it, so it takes a lot of practice to play it, because it's gonna be playing a tempo. So if it's not in tempo with everybody else, it's gonna sound really bad. So yes.
So talk a little bit about, you talked about rhythmically not playing a lot. Talk about, you know, are you just playing open chords, or what do you, on some of the pads and stuff too, especially, to not be on top of everything else?
Pads, he probably doesn't have more than 3 notes in his chord.
I'll be honest with you, a lot of my pads, this week even, for a lot of the stuff, 5-1-5. Like the beginning of Final Word Cody's tune, I stayed 5-1-5 pretty much the whole song, but what I add are arpeggiation and pulses and things like that. Then when the band comes down, I still keep it here, but then now I'll add low end on my own. Bass player's out, guitars are out, it's just really me and her and a vocal. Then I'll add movement on the low end to kind of bring some new taste to my stuff. But a lot of times I'll just live right there because I'm adding elements on top of the pad to bring energy and sound. So I don't need to play, if you try to play pads like you play piano, it's gonna get real muddy real fast. And the nature of a pad is a slow attack, slow release, where a piano is hard, bam, bam, in and out. Pad doesn't do that. So you've gotta really change the way you think about it, because you'll get muddy really fast with pad. So the whole thing is, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Simplifying it, if we're gonna give everybody the greatest experience God in the greatest way possible, sometimes me playing less that's exactly what I need to do. To facilitate people seeing Jesus, not my cool stuff. You know what I mean? So get out of the way more times than not will help facilitate that. And it's always better to be asked, can you play more, than can you please stop?
A little bit easier question to ask somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a, sometimes I play keys, and most of the time I'm an acoustic guitar. But I have a keyboard player that's she's somewhat new to it. But anyway, I've got her to the place that she can play kind of like what we're talking about. But there are times in service and times in a song where it's kind of needs, piano needs to be maybe a little bit more piano-driven song. just need more rhythm to it. And it's something I can do, and I can show her, so this is what I do, and I, improv and do all this sort of stuff. Man, I'm having a hard time, or she's having a hard time grasping it. I'm sure it's me as a teacher just being totally inadequate. And so I got to the point where, tell you what, why don't you just video me doing it and just take it home and I tried to kind of simplify it and say, okay, this is kind of one step, and then we can, in the same phrase or the same area, if you want to take it to the next step, okay, let's complicate it a little bit more by doing this. Here's the next step, kind of like that.
Does that help?
Yeah, a little bit.
I think
But
the best way is just to watch somebody do it.
Okay.
And, or, if there's somebody else in your church that does it well, like sometimes it's like a parent trying to teach somebody something and then somebody else teaching them something and they receive it from the other person but not the parent. It's kind of like that. Like if there was somebody else in your church that you could say to her, hey, why don't you hook up with this person and watch how they do it or whatever. Not that she wouldn't receive it well from you, but sometimes there is that dynamic. And I think that's the best way to learn is just watching somebody else do it. Like there's a girl that was playing piano and she was like the pianist here a long time ago when I first started coming to the church, and there were little ditties she would play and that still come out in my playing, and I picked up and brought into what I play. And so it's a real, it's a real caught thing that you can kind of pick somebody else's style up and it influences yours. And so I think that's the best way somebody can learn is by watching somebody else do it. But with learning rhythm and adding rhythm, I had to, especially if it is a classical background, I had to pull myself off the piano. And like this might be good for you because I know you kind of were nodding like I don't know what to play. I had to take it off the piano and just tap the rhythm out on my on something. Like I would do it on my legs. Just so if it's grace, that won't let go. It's grace, unfailing grace. Like back and forth with my hands, like I'm a drummer or something. And literally, without playing piano, that's what I would have to do to learn a relationship between my hands because I didn't know how they relate with worship music. Like with classical, it was separated and I could understand. So I had to come off the piano because if I tried to do rhythm with chords, I would get frustrated and then I would be playing the wrong notes too because I don't know what rhythm I'm supposed to be playing, and then I would just get frustrated and cry. So I had to come off the piano for a little bit, practice on my legs. Even if you're just listening to a worship song with headphones in or something, like try to listen to the rhythm and pick it up. And that's gonna be busier than what you'll play on piano, but it helped me break it. That's better, and then you can simplify. Like, cause if you're playing, and if you're playing by yourself too, you're gonna play more rhythm. So pretend you're playing by yourself. Lead yourself and then pull away from that. I don't know. That's just an idea for an approach. Yeah.
What are some things you do to help people learn how to play with the click? I'm mentoring a keys player that she's older than me and she grew up playing Southern Gospel. She overplays, and then I found out she listens to the singer and not the click track. So I've tried week after week, and she just rushes consistently.
There's really no way to teach somebody how to do that. You have to do it on your own.
Is there a point where you just take them off the platform and say,
I don't know what I would do.
I think for us,
That's
we
hard.
would get back to what we're about as honoring one another on the team. If I was doing something that was drawing attention to myself and pulling attention away from our team, I think there would be a heart conversation that would happen with me, with our leaders that would say, hey, help us understand what you're doing and why you're doing. We're trying to, work as a team and you're kind of doing your own thing. In a loving way, they would do that. And I think they'd have to because, again, for people to experience God in the greatest way possible, I have to be willing to lay it all down. What if Jessica says to me, Kevin, don't play on this section whatsoever? I can't get offended at that. We're trying to achieve something as a congregation in worship. So I have to be willing at that point to lay everything down. I think it could be cool to have this, but she says, don't play here, don't play here. And I think that's a kind of conversation that's outside of a style. It's a heart thing that you've got to be able to accommodate. And if she understands where you're trying to go, you got to give her grace to learn and fail. But as long as you see growth, then sometimes it takes people longer than others to get that.
And there's a balance in it too, cause if I ask him not to play, he's gonna receive that in a way that says that he knows that I'm just trying to do the best thing for what we're trying to do. It's not, you know what I'm saying, like, there has to be a good mutual respect and honor for each other and the team and the whole vision of what we're doing. So it is hard but some of this just involves really hard conversations. Like, that's what ministry is just like a kind of a mess of conversations. So, and speaking the truth in love. So if it's not working, then maybe there is an honest conversation, but also followed up with, I mean, there has to be good equity in relationship there too, to be able to speak the truth in love, but also being able to equip her and give her the tools that she needs too, not just say like, it's not working, but say, it's not working, maybe, maybe we can do this, or, not that I have like a suggestion for what that would be, but I'm just saying, and maybe the Lord would give you some kind of creative idea for how to give her the tools she needs to, because, if she wants to be there and she has a heart to serve, you can't help but love them, but also, if it is a distraction in worship, then it's not helping, so.
A great resource too that's out there, most songs have someone on YouTube that's recorded the piano and the keys of a song.
Like a tutorial kind of.
Yeah,
video.
Hillsong does that with a lot of stuff, so like Anchor and stuff like that, you can literally type in Anchor, Hillsong, keys 1 for piano, and somebody has recorded it. So maybe if she goes and watches that, and that's kind of to your question too, if she can go watch someone play it, they might go, oh, I can actually play less, I have permission to play less. She might not realize that. She thinks she has to fill out the old school way, the piano was the rhythm. And so sometimes by watching that YouTube clip, they're like, oh, I can play less, and it's okay. So, those are great resources, because then it helps you build on something. Did you notice how in this section they did this? You can
It gives you something to reference
Yeah.
to talk about,
Yeah.
in conversation, yeah, that's good.
Worshipartistry.com is a good resource.
Okay.
It's a subscription base, but it's nominal, it's
Yeah,
$10 or under.
yeah,
Okay,
which is a great
that's
resource
great.
for your team, investing in your team,
And we have videos of all of our songs too, worshipteam.tv is the name of that website, you can go watch.
Yeah, we record everything. When we're done with a live album, we go back and record all of the instruments from what we played, all our hands, and the feet of the drummers or whatever, so it goes back and we show you exactly how we played.
I have one more.
Yeah.
I didn't think of Forever Yours, that key part is like one of my favorites that y'all do. Does the worship pastor come to you or the songwriter and ask you to help?
That's a great
most of the
question.
time?
So a lot of times when there's new songs, there's a production team that's taken into the studio to kind of workshop a song like that with that particular song. So a lot of the songs, yes, the songwriter or whatever, it's brought into the studio and kind of this team shapes it and helps kind of formulate and reflect the vision of the song and kind of the heart of what they want to do with the song. In that case, David Moore actually had that hook, and that was something that he brought into it. And so sometimes there is that, but I would say that's kind of more of a rare case. But that one and God Be Praised, he had both of those hooks, yeah.
I have a follow-up question to that. We have multiple people that rotate in our schedule, and something that I've been coming across is when we're practicing in the beginning, this one particular song, I had created a lead line how I wanted it played on the synth, and then it was several months later that I discovered one of the synth players was telling another synth player, no, do it like this, and then all of a sudden I realized we had 4 or 5 different people who played
And
keys
then a lot
who
of
were now
confusion.
playing. And so, and then the one was arguing, well, the original one, and yeah. So anyway, I was just wondering, how do you keep your songs sounding like the same song, or do you let people have that artistic license?
That's a good question. It tags onto yours, because typically what would happen is if we have a new song, it would be brought into the studio with the production team. Hopefully, this is like the ideal circumstance. It's brought into, somehow recorded, and then there are people that have influence to speak into those parts, like you wrote that part. And then when it's done, that demo of it would be posted to PCO and said, hey, this is like kind of what we're thinking for the song, learn these parts kind of deal, and that would be the expectation for how we play it. And then once we get to service, it might be kind of tweaked some more or whatever. But then there's kind of a standard for what it should sound like. And I don't know how you would really negotiate that if you didn't have something like that to say, this is how we do it.
It was more like a game of telephone where it started
Right.
with one thing and it just.
Right.
Well, and I think too, like with us, if we tell people, respect the song enough to learn it like it's supposed to.
That's good.
Okay, so you respect the work that you did, then with the relational equity, then you can have a player come back and say, hey, I like most of what you did there, but what if I tweak these couple of notes to do this?
Sure.
There's that honor that happens, because you wrote the line, and they learned it like you wrote it, so they're prepared to do it. If you say, no, I want it like that, they gotta play it like that. But then you're open to, because of the relational side, you go, oh yeah, that actually sounds better.
Sure.
So with Jessica as MD, she can come in and say, just do this, and we'll do that. But usually there's a push and pull back and forth to say, what if we change the drum pattern, bass pattern right here a little bit, and so then there's that both ways. But we always tell everybody, respect the song enough to learn it like it's supposed to. That way, if we default to that, that's what happens.
And one of the best things, because we do get that question a lot about like style, and in your case with the Southern Gospel kind of thing, this is a great thing to talk about with even what you're saying about your part is, we had one of our pastors recently share in a class, and I've been sharing it ever since because I think it's so cool, is people are like, how do you get people to play like your style? And so we have a sound that's expressed in our house, you know, we have our own kind of expression of worship, and you might have, yours is gonna sound different. It's a different expression of your culture, of your people, of your church, of your, you know, what's going on in your church, and it should be, because it's a unique expression to your body. But, so it's kind of like, how do you formulate that? What is it? What does it sound like? How do you get everybody to play like that if they sound like Southern Gospel? Well, with us, it's kind of like a family name. That's how one of our pastors explained it is, and it's not about music, how he was talking, but it's like having a family name, and you have your first name is your unique name inside the family, and then you have a family name, and you're representing the family. And so whenever you go out, that's who you're part of the family, and you're a representative of the family at that point. And so I'm Jessica of Gateway. Like that would be how you think of it. I'm Jessica of Gateway. So I'm my unique individual expression among the family, but I'm not going to be a rebellious, like some rogue expression of the family name. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like I adopt the family culture, the family style, the family values, the family everything, and then I'm a unique expression within that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even with what you were saying, you know, it kind of all goes together with what we're talking about. And so I think there's a good, there just has to be a good respect and honor and understanding of your place within the family. And in any family, it's just like in a family, you know, it's the same in a church family. So anyway, and that goes also to hook writing, which we haven't even talked about. We have a few more minutes. So hook writing, so do you guys know what that means? It's like, okay, so it's a melody like that goes over an intro, just a melody or something that is played that you want to hear again. It's something catchy that's a line or a melody that you want to hear again. And so that line might come back again in an instrumental or another section of the song. You might hear it again. It's just the hook of a song. That's what it's called. And so,
Could you give an example?
so Grace That Won't Let Go has that over the intro. That's the hook. So I play that with the electric guitar player and we play it together. I'm trying to think of another one. Cornerstone is a great one. That Hillsong song. You recognize that right away, right? That's Cornerstone. And that's kind of the hook of the song, and the electric guitar and the pianist play it together. Anchor's another one, yeah. So sometimes it might be a piano only thing, sometimes it might be a guitar thing, and that's just something that you would work out when you're kind of workshopping that song like you were talking about in the writing process and when production brings it in and kind of working out the sound of the song and stuff. Or, for instance, if we have a song that we've been doing a long time and I hear Cole playing a guitar line on it, I might want to play that line with him. So I might kind of join him with something I hear him doing, or maybe, but you don't want to have a bunch of lines going on at the same time. So you don't want to just be playing your own lead line and they're playing a lead line, and then the front of house guy is like, who's leading, you know what I'm saying? So there has to be some good communication among the team of what's going on, and not just doing your own thing, but actually being part of the team with that. But and some songs don't have hooks. Like, I mean, you think about Here I'm to Worship, or, you know, there's not going to be a designated hook to that song. But let's say that every time I play that song, I might like a certain line, or I might kind of develop a certain way of playing that. Then that's cool too. You can kind of workshop older songs to have a fresh sound to them too. So does that make sense? That's kind of what hooks are about. So if you have no idea what to do with writing a hook and don't know what I'm even talking about, just take a chord progression. So let's say it's Here I Am to Worship, just for fun. Or How Great Is Our God. How Great Is Our God. That's in C too. Or we played in C. So How Great Is Our God. Take that chord progression, C, A minor, I'll C, how F, how G is our C. Okay, so that chord progression, take that and try to write a line or something that goes over those chords, and then challenge yourself to write several other lines that are completely different with those same chords. That's a good way to kind of practice writing hooks if you've never really experienced writing hooks. So I could say, that's kind of a slow one, I guess, to do like a hook too. That's sort of boring. Maybe Our God is a little faster. Okay, so let's say this is kind of the tempo. So I can take that chord progression and I can talk and play at the same time. Okay. Just like a little something that catches your attention that you want to hear maybe again later in the song, something that makes it recognizable or whatever. So then you could take that same chord progression and challenge yourself to write a few other lines that go with the same progression to kind of unlock your thinking. So you can take the same chords and write several different lines to it just to get yourself thinking like that. What else to say in terms of that? Does anybody have questions about that? It's really fun.
So how much flexibility do you have for volume and also how busy you are?
Okay.
Because you could, in a setting your size, you could get really busy and then front of house could bring you all the way out.
No,
Right.
she's Queen Jessica, that never happens. Maybe me get turned off, but never her.
No, there's plenty of times I think, should be louder.
Yes.
But,
But
I think,
like on your master volume, do your
That's
text
a good
only allow
question.
you to go so high?
I think,
No.
no,
No, that used to be the case, but what happens is, that's like the musicians then going back and telling the TA people how to do sound. That never works. So what needs to happen is a conversation of how does music ebb and flow, like a guitar player. Does he just leave his volume pedal all the way up and that's where he stays? Of course not. He's going to work his volume pedal to
Swell
what's
it.
happening in the song. So there's a kind of a set it and forget it with newbies to kind of make your job easier, but that doesn't teach in the family how to go with the family when the family goes. You got that one uncle that's always loud at the quietest time. That guy needs a filter, right? So there's training that happens with our musicians to say, hey, you don't just set your volume, go with us. When Jessica says bring it down, you've got to come down. You can't leave your keyboard at the same volume. So when that happens, then the sound guys are just mixing overall mix, because dynamically we're all going together.
but there should be a cap to that. Like, it shouldn't continue to get louder.
Right.
So there should be like, when you're checking your sounds and stuff,
Yeah.
you should be playing at full volume.
Right.
Everybody should be full volume when you're checking your sounds, or you're sound checking, or you're trying to set your levels. That way, it's not gonna get louder than that, and then you're gonna blow everybody away. So there is a good balance in being able to pull it down, bring it up and stuff, but then you gotta not go beyond that. don't know if that, does that answer your question?
And I know what you mean about a sound for
Mhm.
your house, and I get that. However, as a musician, are there styles that you play on your own to keep your skills honed, or just things that you like? Like
That's a
you,
great question too. So many good questions. Okay, so no, I should, yes, but no, I don't. Mainly because of time. Like, I don't have time. I don't even know how people have time to watch TV. I don't even watch TV. Literally. I mean, so I guess you just make time for what you're gonna do. But, so I could make time for it, but I don't. I think about it sometimes. No, around Christmas time I do, because I'm like, oh, I want to play the classical Christmas songs and stuff. I could sit down and read, I guess, but because I grew up kind of with that, but if you don't do it often, it kind of does fall off. But you have a better answer for this,
Well,
because
for me, like when she said you adopt the family name, I have played black gospel for a lot of years. I'm a B3 player and all that stuff. So when I came to Gateway, I had to come under a new name. I had a new name on Kevin Gateway. So there's times they let me come out to play, and I get to play the B3 on some stuff and do some fun stuff. But I don't bring that stuff to our services on normals because it doesn't fit, right? So for me, yes, I like to go out and do some things outside of Gateway that let me still bring those things out. But I have learned to love my new name, and so the new textures I bring are simple, and I find joy in bringing complication to the simplicity. That my sounds are complicated, but they're simply played, and so I will submit to the name and say, okay, this is what needs to be played, not what I can play.
Nice.
So then go outside and scratch that itch, so when you're here,
Yeah.
you fit with what's
good.
done. So I never say I deserve to do that because that's where I grew up.
Right.
I'm Gateway, so I will play that.
well,
sound.
and people that enjoy other styles do find other outlets to express them.
Yeah.
You know, if that's we have one of our bass players plays in some Scottish, he wears a kilt, like he plays in, and he goes out and he